Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to go over the gameplay showcase that Civilization VII did today on YouTube. They talked about a lot of new features, how this game is going to be different from Civilization 6, and although it's not as much information as I would have liked, obviously, because I would have liked to always like to know more, this is an initial show of kind of what the game is going to be about. So I'm excited to kind of go through what they talked about here today um, and explained it as best I can uh, based on the trailer I watched. You should, of course, go watch that video as well. I'll link it in the description so you can go see it yourself, see what you make out of it. But these are the major key takeaways I got from watching the video. Let's go ahead and get started. First of all, the art, the map, all the different things that, we kind of take for granted in a Civilization game, the art style looked fantastic. Everything looks very crisp and clear and amazing. I'm probably going to need to upgrade computers to be able to play this thing because I don't know if my computer can handle this kind of detail, really. It just looks awesome. Here are a couple different screen grabs I pulled from the trailer. As you can see, we've got like lots of different really cool landscapes, and the rivers look really good. The water is rippling. This is a natural wonder that they showed off in the trailer. Here is a close-up of a resource. Here's a close-up of a city. And then here is a river. It all looks very beautiful. They had a lot of really great shots of like units fighting. During the game, units will be fighting each other constantly. So if they're sitting next to each other and you're at war, they'll be like banging their swords and battling while you're sitting there doing your turn, which is, I think, really cool. So lots of really cool graphical updates to Civilization, make it more unique, more pretty to look at. It even kind of looked like potentially like your units are going to be, well, your units are going to be a lot more detailed. So that's really cool as well. So that we're going to have lots of cool new sort of things to look at while we're playing this game. The other big takeaway, of course, is the new gameplay mechanics. Um, I've been playing Civ 6 since it came out. I think it's a really great game. Obviously, every game has flaws and issues with it, but I was really racking my brain to kind of figure out how they were going to advance on from Civilization 6. I felt like 6 really took everything that 5 did right and built on it and made it a lot better. But now seeing this gameplay trailer, I see really like the direction they're going with it, and I think this is really going to be another great continuation from that legacy of 5 to 6 to 7. So let's see what these new gameplay mechanics are. The first is the game is now going to be broken up into ages. Now, the game was already broken up into ages in Civ 6, right? They had the different ages, and there was like golden ages and all that kind of stuff that they introduced in the second DLC. This is going to take that concept a lot further. So they're in the game currently, based on what they were saying today, there are going to be 3 ages that are going to be available in game. The first one is the Antiquity Age. This is going to kind of be like the ancient to classical era, I think. The Exploration Age, which would be kind of the Renaissance through the Age of Exploration. And then the Modern Age, which is going to be like the Atomic Era, the Modern Era, those ones. So the Industrial Revolution, that's all going to be in the Modern Age. In each of these ages, you're going to choose a different civ to represent you. They talked a lot about how history layers upon itself, and they really wanted to reflect that in this game. So basically how that's going to work is, and when you start the game in the Antiquity Age, you're going to pick a civilization. In their example, they picked Egypt. So you play as Egypt through the entire Antiquity Age. You'll have a leader. They said you could pick any leader now. That's like standard. So you don't have to pick the Egyptian leader to play as Egypt. Which they said was Hatshepsut again. So she's returning. It's not going to be Ramses this time or Cleopatra. And then when the age changes, your leader stays the same. So you're going to stay as Hatshepsut or whoever the leader you pick is. But you're going to change civilizations. And those civilizations that you're able to change into are going to be based off of either historical accuracy or in-game achievements that you do, which we'll talk about a little bit in a second. I think this leaves a great opportunity for them to add a fourth age in further DLC. They talked a lot about how this game is going to be supported for years to come, so I can see them adding a fourth age, the future age, after the modern age, to really take the game that next step, kind of like what they did in Civilization 6. So what's going to lead to these transitions? They talked a little bit about that, and basically what they said is that civilizations over time end up facing crises, and those crises lead to change. So it seems here they showed this timeline, and this was on the government page, so where you pick your policies. Um, and it's a timeline. It shows the age beginning, and then it goes all the way across till there's a crisis. And at the crisis, um, then it's going to be kind of like the countdown. So once you hit the crisis begins, there will be a countdown until the crisis culminates, and that's when you'll switch. Um, so that's gonna be kind of the timeline of your age. You're gonna have several social policies that you have in each age, much like you did in Civilization 6. You'll have policies that you can implement that'll give you bonuses, and then it seems here that you'll get a crisis policy. So once your crisis begins, you'll get a special crisis policy that helps um, with your various things that are happening. So it seems here like some of the crisis policies available, healing cults, you get +5 happiness, but -10 gold. Miasma, so like there's a sickness, so there's going to be migrants coming to your city, but if it's infected, you're going to lose growth, stuff like that, right? So something bad is happening that's changing your civ um, moving forward. They also talked a lot about how your policies from that first age, so the age of antiquity, you're going to be able to choose some of those policies and bring them with you into your next age. So you're not going to completely wipe the slate clean when you switch ages. You're going to keep some of the things you had before, and then you're going to build on top of it. So you can kind of think of it as a pyramid. In that first age, you're building the base. In the second age, you're building the middle part. And then on the end, you're going to be creating that pinnacle towards victory. Let's talk a little bit more about age transitions. They showed us a couple different graphics of how it is you're going to be able to um, transition your civilization as you grow in the game. So in this instance here, this is the Age of Antiquity, and it says here that we are going to be using Hashafut, the Egyptian leader. And then you can choose a civ to play as. Now you can pick any civ. That's the cool thing. Any of the antiquity civs that are available in that age, you can pick to play with Hashafut. So they said, well, you could play as Egypt, or you could potentially play as Ascom, which they said would be a really good choice for Hashafut, or you could play any of the other civs. So any of the other ancient civs, antiquity civs that are available, Rome, Maya, there's a few that they talked about already. You could pick any of those. But in this example, they pick Egypt. So that's kind of the traditional choice. That's where she's from. So you pick Egypt. Moving forward, then, when you go to the next age, the exploration age, you're going to have a couple options available to you. The obvious option is, in this case, is going to be the Songhai. That's the exploration era civ that is tied to Egypt. So if you played Egypt, the one you automatically get to choose from is the Songhai, which are a West African nation, right? So they generally fit within like the geography and the culture and the history of Egypt. Then it shows other possible options. So for instance, if you pick a certain leader, you might get a leader-based unlock. So like let's say you picked a modern era leader. So like you picked Napoleon for France as an example. If you picked Napoleon, if you move into the exploration age and France is available, you can pick France then, right? That's unlocked because of the leader you picked. Or in other instances, maybe you found some resources or you did something really cool in your antiquity age, and that's going to unlock another civ you could potentially play as. So in this case, they said, hey, if you found 3 horses on the map and you have acquired those and started cultivating those horses, you could then play as Mongolia in the next age. So there's different ways you can unlock different civs, which is going to really play into the strategy of the game, right? Are you going to be stuck with just the historical option? And are you going to play accordingly to that? Or are you going to unlock options that'll give you different ways to play as you play the game? So there's going to be a lot more strategy in who your leader is, and then also what you do in the game because it's going to unlock potential civilizations for you to play as you move forward. Here's an example of the exploration age where you get to pick the thing. So like as we said, we pick the Songhai. Excuse me. So when you're doing that, there's like a picture to go with it. It tells you what the civilization is. It tells you what they're good at, economy and military. This is their historical choice. So this is the choice going from Egypt to Songhai. And then it gives you the breakdown of that civ. So it sees here the Songhai get plus 15 trade route ranged for cities on a navigable river, and your trade ships cannot be plundered on navigational rivers. You get plus 30% production towards constructing the Tomb of Askia, which is, I guess, a wonder, I would assume. And then there's some unique units in buildings. So you get the Gold Bangle Infantry, which is a unique unit, plus 5 combat strength when you're on a resource tile, plus 100% gold from pillaging trade routes. There's another unique merchant, so that seems like the trader unit. So it's a civilian that can establish trade routes. And then you can also get a special building called the Caravanserai, which gives you gold bonuses. So very much like Mali is in Civilization 6, the Songhai are very trade focused, it seems. So that'll give you those different options. If you don't want to pick the Songhai and you pick a different option, it's going to give you this same choice here. The other thing I noticed is at the bottom here, it tells you the 3 different countries you can play as that'll lead you to the Songhai. It says if you play as Ascom, you can become Songhai, as Egypt, and then there's another one that is Amina. I'm not familiar with that civilization. I don't know who they are, so that's really exciting to me that there's something else that I don't really know because I was a history major in college. I know a lot about history. I don't know about those guys, so this is going to be something really interesting moving forward. I feel like I'm going to learn a lot playing this game, which is really exciting. Moving on with our age transitions, like I said, when you move, you're going to be able to take some bonuses with you from your last age, but it also seems that when you move forward, you're also going to be able to pick new bonuses that you're going to get as the age changes. So here, there's an option of them going through and picking some options that they're going to get as bonuses. It seems here that they get 5 choices, maybe 6. So they give them a list that they get to pick from, and then you get to add those things. So it looks like they're picking that they get to get another city. It also seems that there are differences between towns and cities. And I don't know what that difference is. They didn't explain that, but it seems like there's going to be a 2-class tier of cities and towns, and maybe there'll be a third one as well. So those tiers, I don't know what that actually means or if that affects your gameplay at all. But clearly there's a difference, so that's probably going to be something that matters. But there's other things here, like you get walls, or you get units, or you can get some resources, stuff like that. So there's different things that you can get when you switch ages. Another cool thing I saw in the trailer is now that there are traversable rivers. So as you can see, there are tiles that are river tiles, and units can traverse those rivers and move along those tiles. So rivers aren't necessarily always going to be on the hexagon lines anymore. There might be actual river tiles that you can traverse through. I did see that there are river tiles you can traverse through, and there are river tiles you can't traverse through. So like this is a big river tributary, so you can travel through this part, but I assume if you get to the end here, you might have rivers that come off of it that you can't actually travel on. So that's kind of cool that they added that in. Another thing let's talk about is the leaders. Now, because the leader that you pick is going to be with you the entire game, right? You might be changing civilizations as you play, but you're going to be the same leader the whole time. So now leaders have skills and attributes that they're going to unlock as the game goes on, and they're divided into several categories. As you can see at the top here, there's cultural attributes, diplomatic attributes, economic attributes, expansionist attributes, militaristic, and scientific. So you're going to get points, and they said that there are going to be like challenges in the game that can earn you these attributes as you go along. So like it might be like, oh, you built this wonder, you get a diplomatic point. Or oh, you did 4 trade routes, you get an economic point. Something like that. So there's going to be kind of like the Eurekas in Civ 6. um, they're going to probably give you bonuses that go towards these attributes. Um, they weren't really specific on whether or not these trees are going to be specific to leaders or if they're going to be generalized. So every leader has the same trees, um, and then you just get to pick and choose how you get them. So that should be interesting going forward, seeing if you're going to be able to, if each leader has a different tree with different support stuff, or if every leader has the same tree on each tab, and you get to pick as you go. So that's something interesting that we can see when the game releases later on. Speaking of leaders, each leader is going to be tied to a historical civilization. So one that they showed off, for instance, is Rome. Rome's leader is Julius Caesar. So Rome has these different things. So these two different powers that they have, plus unique units and buildings. And then, of course, the leader is going to have different attributes and abilities as well, because you could play as Rome and a different leader. I went through the website after I watched the video, as well as everything in the video, and these are all the civs and leaders we saw so far. Hatshepsut is from Egypt, she's in antiquity. Julius Caesar is from Rome, he's in antiquity. Ashoka is Maurya, India, and that's an antiquity civ. On the website, they showed the Maya as a possibility, but they didn't tell us who the leader would be. They're in antiquity. Napoleon is going to be a bonus that you can get, and they're from France, obviously, and I assume that they were modern. Tecumseh, who is a Native American leader of the Shawnee, they were listed on the website as being an exploration civ. They also said Ascom, and then there was also that other one, Amina or whatever. Those are also antiquities. They seem to be tied to Africa. So those ones, they don't have a specific leader said. They did show off a leader, but they didn't say what their name was for Ascom. They showed off Benjamin Franklin, who's obviously a leader of the United States. I think the United States is going to be a modern civ. And then they also said that because they're trying to expand who counts as a leader, so they're not all heads of state anymore. Benjamin Franklin is like a scientist and an inventor. He was also a diplomat and all that other stuff, but like he was never president, right? So he kind of doesn't fit in the traditional civilization leader block. They also showed off a philosophical leader from what appeared to be China. I could see that being like Confucius or the guy who made up Taoism and Taoism. That guy might be potentially a leader for China, and I think they're going to be antiquity as well. So lots of different leaders they showed off, lots of different options. Because they said that they're going to be having leaders and civs from every different age, there's going to be a lot of options, I think, in the base game, which is going to be a lot of fun, being able to see what our different options are to play as. They did talk about some returning options as well, kind of in passing. One of those is the idea of like city states. They referred to them as independent powers. So they seem like they're city states, obviously. They're going to be smaller civs that don't have as much power. They can't win the game. I'm interested to see if independent powers in this game might potentially be able to control more than one city, because obviously in Civ 6 they could not. So it'd be interesting in Civ 7 if like an independent power could take maybe your town over instead of your city, right? Like they can't take your cities, but maybe they can take your towns, something like that, right? So I want to see kind of how they interact with you as the player and the other civilizations in the game. Also, they did talk about how districts are returning. So in that very beginning spot where they first like settled a city and they talked about like this resource over here, they also set up a district with their granary. So it seems that there are going to be more districts or different districts, right? Granary was in the city center in the last game, but it seems that it's going to be in its own separate district this time. So maybe there will be more district options, more ways for them to interact. It'll be interesting to see if only cities can have districts or if towns have districts as well, right? That dichotomy that we talked about earlier, is that going to be, how is that going to be fleshed out? Final thing we just wanted to talk about, the pre-order for the game is now live. Comes out in February, so like February 11th of next year. And there are currently 3 different um, three different civilizations slash leaders that are available because of this pre-order. So for one, they said that Tecumseh and the Shawnee are the pre-order bonus civilization. So if you pre-order the game, you're going to get Tecumseh and the Shawnee when the game launches. The other thing they talked about is that if you link your 2K account to the game, so if you're playing it on Steam and you link your 2K account to the game, you're going to be getting Napoleon the Emperor from France. So this is Emperor Napoleon. This is post him becoming the Emperor. And they said that if you pick the same account that you linked Civ 6 to, which obviously you should, you'll also get a different Napoleon. This is Revolutionary Napoleon. So this is when he was like the general at the beginning of the French Revolution when he was fighting. So there's one Civ and three different leaders up for grabs by pre-ordering and linking your 2K account. I'm going to be playing on the PC, I believe, so that's where I'm going to be buying the game. I'll probably buy it through Steam, and I'll of course link my 2K account. I'm very excited. When they announce more information about the game, I'll make another video like this going over everything they talked about. And yeah, I'm very excited to be playing Civilization with you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon, hopefully with some more Civilization 7 information. Good luck, players.